Severe weather looking possible on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. The time is 3:57 p.m. and it is May 3rd. Welcome to another update for Great Lakes weather. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. We're starting right with the SPC's website here. You can see enhanced risk for severe weather. They just issued a tornado watch across portions of Texas. Severe weather could possibly occur in this region today, and you can see that down here in this region, these are showing the dates for the potential for severe weather. There's an enhanced risk tomorrow across portions of the southwest again, marginal risk on Sunday for some regions. Let's take a look at all of these in a little bit of detail. You can see that this risk for the day 2 convective outlook that comes tomorrow, this is the setup for tomorrow, shows a marginal risk for severe weather across portions of Illinois and extreme southern Wisconsin. Now, this setup does not look like to be packing any decent tornado potential, but damaging winds and hail could be a possibility per the SPC's outlook. And then tomorrow shifts a little bit further south across portions of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas. Again, not really our coverage area, but at the same time, marginal risk for severe weather does remain down there with the potential for maybe a couple thunderstorms across the southern Great Lakes region as well. Now we're going to get into the setup for severe weather next week. So this right here is on Sunday, and you can see, actually I believe this is Monday, Monday across portions of the plains. So you can see that there's a 30% risk area. There's some good confidence that there's going to be severe weather across portions of Kansas, places that have seen already plenty of severe weather. Wish they wouldn't see any more at this point. But you have the plains that have pretty good confidence in severe weather next week. And then as you get into the next day, this is Tuesday, you can see there's a 15% risk area now moving into the Great Lakes region. These are associated with a system that's bringing a surge of upper level energy into the Great Lakes region and will also be in a favorable environment for a severe weather as well, with a warm moist air mass out ahead of it. Could have some decent severe weather with this. So 50% risk area for portions of western Indiana, extreme southwestern Michigan, portions of Wisconsin, Illinois included in this as well. One thing to note with this setup is in the explanation from the SPC, the expansion of a 15% severe area may be needed in later outlooks. But what they're waiting for is better model agreement and increased confidence in how far eastward the rich low-level moisture and instability will be. So, again, there is the potential that this 15% risk could shift a little bit further east into our area, maybe even northeast into portions of Michigan as well. So that's something that is being watched currently by the SPC. And the day 6 outlook shifts further to the south. This is Wednesday. At the same time, despite the fact that the 15% risk area is being delineated further to the southwest, there is not much confidence into what exactly is going to take place up here in the Great Lakes region just yet. But there could be some places around here that could see a 15% risk area come Wednesday, because there is some ingredients that could come together for severe weather across the region. And one helpful model that kind of is giving us a little hint to that is the CSU MLP model. CSU MLP model kind of takes some of the variables that are put together and it kind of releases its own kind of custom outlook based on some of the model forecasts that are presently out there. And you can kind of see similarities between the SPC setup and the setup on the CSU model. So you could see Monday, decent risk for severe thunderstorms across the plains once again. And then also here we go to May 7th on Tuesday. You can see that risk the confidence is not as high in the yellow and brown areas, but areas in the red and the pink, you start to see more increased confidence. And the hatched area indicates the potential for more significant severe weather. Okay, so again, that's kind of what we're looking at. Yellow could see a severe weather setup start to form up in that region, but the higher confidence is more in those red regions. Okay, so that's Tuesday. You can see that it's focused across portions of southern Indiana and Illinois as well. And then on Wednesday, you could see that it is covering much more of portions of the continental United States and also extending further into portions of Ohio. But again, confidence is not as high for this day because, again, keep in mind that all of these models are still 5 or 6 days out. So raw model data at this point is still going to change rather frequently. So we take this, we get some information from it, but it's not a wise decision to come up with a forecast based on models that are 5 to 6 days out. But we can come up with a relatively good idea of what could possibly occur, and that's what we're showing you with these weather models. Okay, so again, not forecasting, rather just kind of giving you what the models are showing with the current variables that they're putting together. So that's what is being shown here. let's take a look at how the ECMWF is playing this out. Okay, this is the European model. Does a pretty good job with some of these systems as they make their way through. So let's go to when this trough actually makes its way through. You can see this trough kind of building off to the west on Monday. This trough is the likely trough that's going to bring severe weather to portions of the region across the plains. You can see it kind of surges a little bit further to the north, and then on the back side of that trough, you start to see a burst of energy come on the back side of it. So again, that burst of energy is what is likely to bring our severe weather into our area later on Tuesday afternoon. Okay, so you can see that burst of energy making its way into portions of Illinois around Tuesday 1 p.m. And this region could bring some severe potential. In fact, right along the leading edge of this burst of upper level energy, you can get a sounding out ahead of it. Right there, that sounding PDS TOR usually indicates particularly dangerous situation, tornado environment. Again, this is still a setup for 5 days out, but that's something that the models can kind of depict at when you kind of look at all the different variables in the environment. And one thing that kind of hints at the setup for tornadoes is, first of all, you look at the skew T or the skew T chart that's right here, and you can kind of see that as you go up in the atmosphere, your directional winds are starting to change and also increase as they go further up in the atmosphere. So directional shear is present, as well as very decent speed shear present. You do have low cloud bases. One thing that the Euro is depicting also as well is a little bit of a capping inversion, which could inhibit some storms from developing, but I do think there will likely be, these storms will have the ability to get through. Cape value is around 2,000. You have surface level cape, and then your SRH. Again, a lot of ingredients that are going to be difficult to put together at this time and probably will not sustain themselves in the way that they are right now up until the day of the event. But it's still good to get that we're getting a signal out pretty far out ahead of this that, hey, there could be some severe weather across portions of Indiana and Illinois on Tuesday. And this timing is for 8 p.m. Okay, so the sun will still be out, but it'll be starting to go down. You can see that those upper level winds continue to surge across the Great Lakes region as we get into Wednesday as well. And this is where the models start to get a little iffy. Okay, now you do have the Euro model depicting that some of the upper level winds start to decrease across portions of Indiana and Ohio. Now that still does show that the upper level winds will be still favorable enough for maybe some severe weather, but the question is, how strong will those upper level winds be Thursday or Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening? In fact, let's freeze frame it right here, and we're going to compare this to the GFS model real quick. Okay, so here's what the GFS model shows. It shows a bit of a higher burst of energy, and if you get a sounding in front of that environment, it shows a favorable environment again for tornadoes despite a strong cap. So that's the question that's being raised at this current moment. How will these start to come together as we get closer to the actual event? And that's something we're waiting on to figure out. So just something to keep in mind, that these models are still trying to narrow down everything that's going to happen on Tuesday and Wednesday across Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. So let's take a look at how this plays out in terms of precip, and then we'll also look at some of the ingredients in terms of the severe weather setup. So GFS model. What exactly are we looking at right now? Well, we're looking at the precip type and rate on the GFS model. And this kind of puts together what could possibly develop in terms of the environment that will be present. So let's back it up to Tuesday morning. Okay, this is Tuesday at about, I'd say 10, 11 a.m. Progress it forward. You can see this is about 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Let's get a sounding out ahead of some of these cells in southern Indiana. And you can see TOR sounding, again, Euro also showing that environment too, which is why the SBC has confidence that this is something that could possibly occur across Illinois and Indiana. TOR sounding still showing that somewhat of a favorable environment. I mean, this sounding does put out lower SRH, but that is going to change because, again, we're still 5 days out from this setup. So progress it forward. As we get into Wednesday afternoon, you see that new cells begin to fire across portions of Illinois once again Wednesday afternoon, and it looks like there could be some robust convection across Indiana and Ohio. Get a sounding out underneath that. That is a pretty impressive sounding for severe weather. Okay, now again, 6 days out, a lot to be trimmed out still just yet, but low cloud basis. Okay, good directional and speed shear present, good CAPE and good SRH. a lot of things coming together here showing a favorable environment for severe weather, including tornadoes, based on this current model run. So that is what is being shown there. Models are definitely going to change up until that event, but these storms will eventually move through, move out of the area. Once we get close to the event, once we start to see more of the convective allowing models, and we'll have a much better idea of what could potentially unfold. But again, I remember that portions of Indiana and Ohio did see some pretty decent tornadoes across portions of western Ohio and eastern Indiana. I was chasing that event on March 14th, and again, so you guys are kind of aware how these events can unfold across this region. So probably will be chasing this Wednesday, and maybe on Tuesday. I will try my best to get out there for sure on Wednesday, but Tuesday I may also try to get out. We'll see if I can fit that into my schedule somewhere. So that's what's currently on the table. Here's the Euro with kind of a different depiction on how things are going to unfold. Again, confidence on Tuesday is still pretty good. You see this cell pop up out ahead in portions of western Indiana. And again, the soundings on this one do look somewhat impressive for the Euro model. Progressing it forward, you see cells also popping up across portions of Indiana Wednesday evening, late Wednesday evening. This is at around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. So I don't know if the timing on this is exactly correct. And it doesn't really show that these storms are very strong per the ECMWF, which is why there's still not enough confidence in Indiana and Ohio to determine that there could be severe weather across this region. GFS shows a good setup for robust convection, but the Euro still not on the par with that one. So still some things to be ironed out with this. We're going to take a quick look at some of the ingredients for Tuesday's setup, since Tuesday is a little bit closer and we have a bit more confidence in what is going to unfold. So we're going to do a compare models with this one, and let's start with most unstable cape. So you can see instability. The Euro does depict that the instability will shift further to the north, whereas the GFS depicts it further to the south, which is rather interesting because the Euro is usually the one that's more conservative. So again, we'll see how those tend to align with the later setup. Here's the mixed layer cape as well as the hodographs. You can see one thing we look for with regards to setup for severe weather is hodographs, because if you have a nice curvature like this, that usually indicates a better setup for rotating updrafts and storms that could produce large hail and maybe even a tornado or two. So on both models do kind of depict that. Now again, further to the south for the GFS, not as good for portions of Indiana, but the Euro does show better setup for severe weather in regards to the potential for a spin in some of the storms that do tend to develop. So still have to be ironed out. There's still several days up until this event, but I want to kind of give you guys a signal with regards to this could bring some interesting weather activity to us on Tuesday and Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated. I will probably do another video sometime maybe on Sunday, and we'll see exactly if that will kind of bring us some more details with regards to particularly Tuesday's setup. Wednesday's setup we'll have to wait until like Monday, but still some things to be ironed out with this setup, as you can tell, and hopefully this video was helpful in getting you that information. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.